The Giants absolutely nailed the draft and their offseason as a whole. In the draft, the first 4 players they got all could have been taken much earlier, in my opinion, than where they fell to, which was right into New York's lap. I want to go over every pick that the Giants got and see how their roster shakes up in a very talented NFC East. I don't think anybody is really talking about the Giants as a real threat, even though they should be talking about them as a real threat because they're one of the most improved teams in the whole league. And, I just saw Emmanuel Acho on Speak have the Giants ranked outside of his top 5 teams in the NFC, and he had Minnesota ranked over them. The Giants beat them, and they got better over the offseason, and Minnesota arguably got worse over the offseason, so I don't know how that makes sense, but for starters, we will go into their draft, go through all their picks, and see who they picked up. The first guy off the board couldn't have been a better fit in Deonte Banks, cornerback out of Maryland. In my mock, I had Banks going to the Giants, and I'm happy that ended up coming true. Banks is a premier athlete with elite speed, and the speed shows up on tape. He ran a 4.35 40, had a 42-inch vertical, and there's plays where you can see it with ease. Even when he kind of gets beat in intermediate, which rarely happens, he has the ability to catch up. Press and playing the deep ball is something I noticed comes naturally to him despite not having the biggest frame. It's nowhere near small though. We'll say about average for a corner. Coming from the Big Ten, you're going to face some of the ultimate talent at receiver, so experience is no issue with him. And he's just a fit. Like, he fits Don Martindale's defense to a T. I think guys like him who can use their hands successfully and play up at the line, someone who isn't afraid when you tell them, okay, I'm sending double-A pressure or a 3-deep zone blitz with 6 guys on the line, and I need you to survive as long as you can. Banks will do that. He's a great athlete. He's a great corner. And honestly, he could have went higher. I was really shocked that, for one, Christian Gonzalez fell as far as he did, and Emmanuel Forbes went ahead of Deonte Banks in the draft. But Washington saw something that they liked better in Forbes than Banks, which is understandable. Forbes is a ball hawk. Banks maybe not so much at college, but there by no means does that mean he can't or will not get a lot of picks in the NFL or a lot of pass breakups. And you look at the secondary, it's really, really good. It consists of Adoree Jackson, Amani Oruwariye, Cordell Flott, Darnay Holmes in the slot, and really good safeties in McKinney, McCain, and Pinnock. And you add Banks to that, and you're just stacking the talent more and more. And Banks is someone who can thrive either inside or outside, and it's sort of a replacement for Julian Love. And he's not the only guy on that defense who can play the slot role. Martindale loves versatile corners and versatile safeties, and he has plenty. So this is a great pick when it's all said and done. I'm giving this an A grade. I'm not doing no A+, A-. I think that shit is whack. I don't know why people do that. For the second pick, John Michael Schmitz, center out of Minnesota. Michael Schmitz is arguably the best interior lineman from the draft, and he's a 4-year starter at 24 years old, so he's got some season in him. In 4 years there, he made all the calls up front, and he's a masterful technician really all around. And that's something that you just can't teach, that you can't, point out at the combine. You kind of see it on tape and during the season. Some people translate from college to the NFL better than most, and a lot of that has to do, or at least some cases, has to do with experience they had at the college level. And Michael Schmitz has had a lot, so that's a great thing to have as a rookie. He was the highest graded center in the FBS, meaning the highest in all of Division I. And he's most likely, let's just be real, he's going to be an instant starter because he truly is the best center and arguably the best interior lineman that the Giants have. I think it was a great fit. I really think he's a great fit with any team. And the Giants got a steal, straight up. Another grade A that I'm going to give to that one. And for the third pick, wide receiver out of Tennessee, Jalen Hyatt. This was one of my favorite picks of the entire draft. Another absolute steal in the 3rd round. I had doubts at first, but I watched more and more, and it made me realize that if someone is really, really good at something, it's for a reason. It's not because they're lucky or anything like that. Jalen Hyatt is a damn good deep threat, and there's a reason for that. Yes, it was scheme. I get it. Tennessee ran a lot of those same choice routes and those ones that are designed to break coverage. So it may be deceiving, maybe. But I watched more and more, like I said, and I really liked him a whole lot. And it's not just the deep threat. He can run routes and he can go intermediate. He can go underneath, screens, all that. He'll be able to do it. I really believe that. His combine numbers too were off the charts. He was the top wide receiver graded at the combine, which was pretty crazy. So he's a great athlete as well. He was tied second in the FBS, once again meaning Division I football, with 15 reception touchdowns. And he's not just a one-trick guy, like I said. If you look at the Alabama game, he got open by understanding leverage. Plenty of times, there's plenty of examples of that during that game, and that's the highest level of competition in all of college football. So if he can do it against them, believe me, he will have no problem doing it in the NFL. Even if it's just a consistent 4 or 5 catches here and there, 3-4 a game, maybe he gets a few deep bombs in the year, he will have a lot of success, especially in that Giants offense that I think is built for someone like him. And not to mention that they have help with Darren Waller now and Paris Campbell and Wan'Dale Robinson back and Sterling Shepard back. It's an elite wide receiver group when you put all those guys together. Maybe not elite, but you know, I'm a little biased. In my book, that's another grade A pick. Now for the 4th pick, the Giants picked up a running back from Oklahoma, Eric Gray, who was another one of my favorites coming out of college. He had 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns in 2022. He had a 200-yard game against West Virginia, 176 versus Kansas, and you're pairing him with Saquon Barkley in that backfield. That's going to be crazy. Just like anyone, I'd assume that it'll take some time for him to get into the groove of things, but when he does, look out. He's elusive in the open field with instant burst. He's a great receiver out of the backfield, and he has experience in pass protection. This is another perfect fit for the offense and another steal. Like I said, pairing him with Barkley, that's an elite duo. I'm going to give this pick a B grade only because I feel like they could have addressed the defense, because as good as they're looking, they have some issues up front and at middle linebacker. Bobby Okereke is there now, but still, I feel like they could have used another pick earlier in the draft to address linebacker and depth up front on the defensive line. But nonetheless, still a great pick. I'm not complaining, and I'm sure no Giants fan is complaining either. So now I'm going to go into a bit of a speed run with the last 3 picks. The Giants got Trey Hawkins, cornerback out of Old Dominion, Jordan Riley, defensive tackle out of Oregon, and Javarius Owens, safety out of Houston. These 3 are all raw prospects who have the physical tools, but they're just going to need tons of experience and tons of playing time on the field to really get the hang of things, if they have to be thrown in early or just in general for them to continue playing or be on a roster. Jordan Riley and Javarius Owens have 4 years of experience. Owens was a team captain for 4 years. Trey Hawkins will probably need the most time to develop, but has great size and is solid in press, and he's a good special team asset until development. As for Jordan Riley, he has great size at 6'5", 338 pounds, and he'll find his way into the rotation because, I mean, the Giants needed help up front like yesterday. So him coming in is a godsend, because if they can get everything out of him, if they can really get him up to speed early, that's a great rotational piece to have if you're the Giants. And Owens, honestly, I think he was a steal. He's a jack of all trades guy. He has experience in the box, at deep safety, at nickel. The more he plays, the better he'll get. So don't get me wrong, these are guys that will need some time, but by no means are they not as talented as some of the guys picked ahead of them. They just might need a few more reps. But once again, all great picks for the Giants. I think they knew what they were doing here, and Daboll and Martindale have a lot of new pieces to mess around with. So that was the draft for the Giants, and looking back at it, like I said, I really do feel like they could have addressed some defense earlier, like where they picked Eric Gray, or as good as Jalen Hyatt is and as good as the pick was for where he was at. If that's something that you have to live with as a Giants fan for this season, that's fine, because Bobby Okereke is a great linebacker, probably the most underrated linebacker in the league, and you didn't have to really spend a lot to get him. So he's there to man your defense, to make all the calls, and to be honest, this really is the best linebacker the Giants have had, and dude, I don't even know how long, maybe like 2016. Their best linebacker was Landon Collins for like the past 6 years. And he wasn't even a linebacker, he was a strong safety, but they put him in at linebacker because he was so good. And overall, I think they'll be fine. I mean, their defense is better than what they were last year, so that's great. The Giants improved on both sides of the ball. Offensively, I just think that they're set. Like, I really feel like this is just being overlooked Their offensive line is fixed. Evan Neal, I'm pretty sure, is going to have a bounce back season in his sophomore year. He had a rough rookie start, but you know who else had a rough rookie start? Andrew Thomas, and he played at an elite level last year. Pair him with John Michael Schmitz, and you got 3 great pieces to anchor your line. The offense as a whole, I'm just liking a whole lot because you put Waller in there with Bellinger, really good tight end group, and Waller finally gives you that number 1 guy that guys are going to have to play, maybe double team him. Maybe they'll put some extra attention on him because of the physical aspect. It's like Kyle Pitts. He's 6'5" and can run a 4.4 40, and he's a tight end. It's like having another receiver, and they got him in a trade with the Raiders, and the Raiders, they had to do what they had to do, but Waller, when healthy and with a good offensive coordinator, he's elite. I mean, there's just no doubt he still has a lot left in the tank. He can do it all, and the Giants got a gem in Darren Waller. It's going to open up so many things for their offense. And like I mentioned with Jalen Hyatt, that's something that's huge for him because you got guys like Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell, who are there and have had experience. Whichever way they shake out this, starting lineup, it really won't even matter because I feel like they're all really good. They have 5 guys who can genuinely do the job really well. Some better than others, some have other strengths that others don't. Like Sterling Shepard is a great slot receiver who can work on the outside too, but he is arguably their best receiver overall. But I really believe that Jalen Hyatt can become that in due time. And not to mention Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, who took the league by storm really last year. And, nobody expected Barkley to bounce back the way he did after 2 seasons of suffering injuries. And nobody expected Daniel Jones to play like he did. I mean, with the team that they had, they thought that they were miles away from making the playoffs. And honestly, with really any other coach, they probably were. They just have it. The whole staff, the team, they have the makings of a team that is ready to take the next step. As good as Philly is, as good as Dallas is, hell, even the Commanders have a great roster. I just think what they're building there, the ceiling for this team is really, really high. You talk about Super Bowl hangover, it may not happen to Philly. Dallas, you never really know. They're always up and down. And the NFC East has never had a repeating champ for years now. Because like I said, it really is never the way you expect. Like everybody expects Philly to repeat as number 1 and the Niners as number 2. And just because that's what you're used to, that's what you left off at. And it's understandable, but it just never goes the way you expect. Every time. It is always something that you least expect, really. There's always a team that catches your eye, especially in the NFC. I feel like it happens less often in the AFC because it's so top heavy and you're so used to seeing the same 4 or 5 teams, at the top. But with the NFC, if there's one team I had to bet money on that will be that surprise, just like they were last year, to maybe even be the number 1 seed, it's the Giants. Just like heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, and it's tough, but the Giants, they have a lot to look forward to, and nothing is holding them back. The only thing holding them back is themselves. So with that being said, I appreciate you for watching, and if this is your first time watching, I also have an Instagram account where I post NFL content daily, highlights, news, rankings, more highlights, memes. Just go to Instagram at The Deep Ball. It's the best upcoming NFL media news company out there. Not just saying that because I own it. I'm saying that because I truly believe it. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos like this with other teams coming soon. I got the Colts. I might do one with the Texans, and we'll see where that leads me. So once again, thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you all. You have no idea how much you mean to me. And I'll see you in the next video.